Welcome to my positive psychology project. For this portion of the video, I'm going to focus on a general overview of what positive psychology is. And for the second portion of the video, I'm going to focus on a sub-theme of positive psychology known as flow. So without further ado, what is positive psychology? Positive psychology is the scientific study of what makes life worth living. It's not a method, it's not a style. It's a real science with the goals of making people happier by understanding, building positive emotion, gratification, and meaning. So the next question might be, how did it start? Well, there's a real void in the field of psychology. According to Kessler in 1994, only about 30% of Americans actually suffer from mental illness, whereas the other 70% are quote-unquote normal. So traditional psychology up until about the 40s really only catered to those individuals with these negative illnesses, such as neurosis or psychosis, whereas the other portion of 70% of Americans, psychology didn't really have much for them. So positive psychology came about as a way to cater to those Americans and help them improve and benefit their lives. This kind of makes the question, what is the main difference between traditional psychology and positive psychology? Whereas traditional psychology focuses on pathology, illnesses, neurosis, etc., positive psychology would focus more on life satisfaction, meaning, engagement, mindfulness, etc. So, in short, traditional psychology asks what's wrong with you, whereas positive psychology says, what's right with you? Let's build on that. So what are the main goals of positive psychology? Positive psychology is used to help enhance one's perspective and well-being. So it's not only to remove the anxieties, depression, anger, but to improve their emotional functionality, self-esteem, positive thoughts, etc. So not only to take that away, but to completely help build them up. In other words, to take a person from a negative 9 to a positive 9 on a spectrum, whereas traditional psychology might only take you from a negative 9 to a 0 out of the negative. But the main theme of positive psychology is really simple. It's just increasing well-being and happiness. Positive psychology has a few trends that it follows. That would be increasing flow, mindfulness, learned optimism, and in other words, how joy can be cultivated. Okay, so now that we've taken a look at positive psychology, we're going to take a look at a subset of positive psychology known as flow. So you may have heard the term in the zone, go in beast mode. These are typically used to describe a state known as flow. Flow is a mental state of perfect focus. One is not thinking self-consciously. You feel relaxed, fully challenged, completely engaged in whatever activity you're doing right before you. Time is meaningless, and people feel incredibly satisfied, personal satisfaction, just from what's right in front of them. Flow was first researched and coined by a Hungarian-American scientist known as, and I'll try my best not to butcher this, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And he put out a couple parameters for kind of trying to induce a state of flow in just about anybody. So the activity must be challenging, but the person must also have an appropriate level of skill going towards that activity. A person has to be active and engaged, not really on autopilot. Typically, if somebody is driving a car, they're not really focused on everything they're doing. They're so good at it that they can just mindless their mind can be anywhere else. So, and the last parameter for getting kind of into a state of flow would be clear-cut rules for success that can indicate progress and quality. So something that you can actively judge yourself and take note to keep you on the right path. And lastly, the biggest draw for a state of flow, the biggest thing is going to be a person must gain personal satisfaction from the activity. It cannot be something that is boring or you have no interest in. And I think that kind of wraps flow nicely into the positive psychology umbrella.